Welcome to Contemporary First Nation Voices. This is NBE3C, grade
School
11,
and today
college level,
when you're creating
class 12. Hang on a second. Hang on a sec. Okay. There we go. Sorry. I think there was a video still playing in the background or something. All right. So this is class 12, key question 18 and 19. And here are the ways to contact me. The studio number is 1-800-465-7144. The office number is 1-800-667-3703, extension 2211. You can email me at Jillian.Percy@nnec.on.ca. My Facebook is gpercywasa, and you can see down there I got this nice little fall scene because fall's my favorite. And if you message me there, always add me as a friend and message me. When you message me, tell me your full name and which course you're in. Because sometimes our Facebook messages, our Facebook names are things like, Rad Dad or whatever. I won't be able to find you in the student database with that. I need to know your actual name. And I've got 4 or 5 different courses I'm doing, so it really helps me to know which course you're actually in, okay? Then if you want to watch some of the previous classes, you can look at 2 different YouTube channels. They both have the exact same stuff. My channel will have 2 years worth of things, including this current class. I did not teach it last year, so it's not available from last year. If you do find it on the internet, it's from a previous teacher, and I've made a lot of changes since then, so do not use that. It will not be helpful to you. And then as well on the school channel, all the stuff from this year and this course, but also all the different teachers have their things there. So if you're taking multiple courses from us, that's a nice, easy way to do it rather than having to jump around and find each teacher's individual YouTube site. Okay, hand in work. There are multiple ways to hand in work. If you are in a community that has a learning center, simply contact your DEC and you can give it to them. They should be able to scan it over to us. If the scanner isn't working, or if you're not in a learning center, see if you can find either at your workplace or maybe the band office, and you can scan it over to us that way. You can send it to us by mail, but I honestly don't suggest it because it takes a long time and the possibility of it getting lost does exist, and nothing is sadder than losing 10 assignments in the mail. If you really feel like that's the only way you can do it, make sure to photocopy it so that you've got it. One common way people hand stuff in is by photograph. However, you have to be really careful if you're taking a photograph. Make sure your writing is dark so I can see it. Like if it's light pencil, it's very hard to see. Make sure the photograph is really clear, not blurry at all, so I can read the writing. When you're taking the picture, make sure your phone is exactly parallel to your assignment. If you're holding your phone in your hand and your hand is upright and your assignment is down on the desk, it's going to be at an angle and it will make the writing very hard to read. It kind of distorts it basically. So make sure it's parallel. And then when you put it on a page, make sure the photo is the full page. If your photo is like 2 inches big, I won't be able to read it. And if I try and expand it, I'm not expanding the original, so it comes out all pixelated, and so it doesn't really help me. If you expand it on your end, you've got the good copy, so it will work. Also, do not just hit share on the photo, because that's meant when you're sharing photos from one phone to another, and I'm not using a phone, I'm using a computer. So then it comes up with this very strange size, and it's hard to shrink down. Also, don't put it in the body of the email. Instead, write me an email and send the photo along as an attachment. You can do it in Facebook as well, but it is a little bit easier to do that in email. Whenever you hand in the work, please send it to studentwork@nnec.on.ca. You can CC me or include me in the email if you want to be doubly safe. This way the secretary logs that you submitted the work, it goes into our database, we have access to it if another teacher took over the course, if you don't finish this year and you need to retrieve your assignments for next year, we've got access to it. If you send it only to me and something were to happen, no one else can access it, so it becomes a problem. If an assignment asks for both a rough and a good draft, please label which one is which and include them both in the same email so I can compare them. Remember that a lot of times the rough draft might be like 10 marks and the good copy might be 20 marks. If you just hand me in one copy, I don't know which one you were intending it to. Like, is that the rough copy and you're going to send me the good draft later? So then it kind of leaves me up in the air, not knowing what to do until I talk to you, which might be a few days. So if you just label it clearly, then we all know what's going on. All right. Surprisingly, we are already on week 4 of this course. I can't believe we're that far along. This week we are going to finish up Unit 1 today and then start Unit 2. Let's see. Yeah. Wednesday's class is going to be pre-recorded, or if I don't get a chance to record it tomorrow, then it might be recorded on Friday. So if it doesn't quite match up, that's kind of why. I am changing a lot of assignments because I need it to meet the government expectations. And so some things have been changed, or I took things out if they weren't needed. So the numbers for the assignments may not match your originals. You're welcome to hand in the original. If you've already done it, that's fine. I'll take it. I marked them. I don't worry about that. But the revised version really is better. And I do suggest you call me and get the revised version. I can just send it to you in email. It's no problem at all. Okay? So we're just finishing up lesson 5. I thought we'd finished up on Thursday, but we didn't quite get there. So this is all about assignment 18, which is where we're making our comic strips. I'm just going to kind of do a quick review of Canva. For Canva, you can just set up a free account. The problem is, see how there's like a little, I don't know if you can see it, there's like a little tiny crown. If you see a crown next to something, it means they want you to pay for it. Don't do that, okay? If you need those kind of paid elements, instead, just ask me and I can create an account where I invite you to it. And then you should be able to have access to all those paid elements, which I do, or you can do it without the paid elements. If you're asking, why don't I just do that right now? Because I have so many students and not everybody hands things in, so it's just easier to kind of keep it to people who I know are actually doing the course and are ask me specifically for it. That way it's not out there for everybody to use, okay? When you do this, it'll come up like this, okay? And they want you to select a type, okay? Basically, you can put up here what you want, okay? Don't say comic book, say comic strip, okay? You can also click the create a design, especially if you have an idea. Like, I'm used to seeing the comic books when I was a kid that looked like mini books. They probably were about 7 inches by 9 inches, and mentally that's probably what I would use. I find the templates they have in here are more almost square, which I don't quite get. Maybe they're using it like a newspaper strip, I'm not sure. So if you have an idea in your mind of exactly what size you want it, go ahead and do the create a design, because it will let you set up exactly what measurements you like. And then it will usually print up this, okay? And you can see this top tool strip and this side one is pretty similar. They're not exactly the same, and some of the things that are coming up for me might not for you. So for example, I've been doing a lot of work on the comic strip, so that's coming up. I don't know if that would come up on someone else's because not everybody is doing it. And you do have to be specific, because if you put like comic, I don't know, if you just put comic, it won't be what we're looking for. Or if you put comic book, instead it comes up with book covers, which is kind of different, okay? Now, when you see my courses right here, I'm using presentation, but that's kind of a funky format, and what we want, these kind of comic strips, won't come up properly in presentation. So don't use that, okay? Don't try and imitate what I'm doing here. But if you put comic strip up, a whole bunch of things will come up. Now, it says 763. I don't find it's actually that many. I think that includes some things that aren't quite really a comic strip. What I normally would do is hit the blank comic strip, which I'm kind of showing you later. But you can also just kind of page through this and see what they've got. That's fine. You can start, this isn't it's a blank page, but see how it's got like the little panels? Now, you can see this is kind of see-through. When you were doing it, the easy way to fix this, I'm going to fix something really quick or it's not going to look right. But if I made my background, see a little color there, and turned it black, then you kind of have how it would look on a comic strip, right? And that would work, okay? And there's way more setups than just these. These are two I picked. Those are blanks. These are like kind of the very funky, super colorful ones. If you like that kind of look, these are some kinds you can do. You can also take these and do go to Elements. Elements is where you'll find almost everything, and say comic background. And when you do that, you'll get all sorts of things. Sometimes it's the graphic. I don't know if it really makes a difference. The problem is, oh, actually, I like that. That works for me. I want to line it up so that it matches that white box. Okay. Now, if you see what happened here, I modified it so it wasn't the full thing, but that means that I'm missing some chunks. So that is one thing you have to be careful of. I can kind of center it. I could stretch it a bit if I wanted it to, but you see how things are moving out of the screen? That is one problem with this. I don't know if it'll happen that way with photo as well. See, now the photo looks almost exactly the same as the graphic to me. Let me see here. I'm going to kind of line up in the corner, and then I'm going to kind of grab the corner and scooch it over. Okay, like that. Now I'm going to center it, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab, see this little crop button? I'm going to grab that and I'm going to crop it. Usually, okay, yeah, see how there's a little line? You can see where the edge is? I'm going to match up mine to just slightly over the edge on that side and just slightly over the edge on this side. And I still get some of it, but you are missing some. But those are some of the backgrounds that I could do. I could keep it plain if I wanted to. I could go kind of black and white if I wanted to. I could also, an easy thing to do would be, if I write the word square here, I can just grab a square. I'm going to put it up here. Let me see here. And I can line this up exactly with it. I don't mind if it goes a little bit overboard, that's fine. And then I can change this to whatever color I want, right? Like maybe I want it dark blue because it's a midnight scene, or maybe I want sort of a light blue because I'm doing some sort of water scene, or maybe we're doing some sort of sand, whatever. So that is one way you can kind of start to set up your background. Okay, where are we at here? Right, and I've already got the filled in ones. This one, so I want to show you what I did here. I was having trouble lining things up, right, and making it look quite right. And see how, like, what I wanted it to do was to sit right in that black frame, but it wasn't. And I got kind of frustrated. I played with quite a bit, couldn't make it work. So what I did was I added some lines over top to put those kind of clean bars back in. And I would probably want like one of these on the outside too. Hang on, copy. I'm going to paste it. Allow. Okay. And then I would just move it over here and line it up. Okay. And I can make it thinner, right, if I wanted to. If you're looking for this, again, you go back to Elements, and I would hit, the square will work just as well, to be honest. Oh, not the photo. Don't take the photo. And here's why. I can't fix the oh, no, see how there's kind of like an edge around it, and it gets kind of out of the frame. So don't use the photo. Oh, that's weird. What happened there? Okay, hang on. That wasn't quite right. Shape. I can make this shape. I can make it very thin and just turn it into a triangle. I can grab a corner and make it very long. So that's one way to do it if you're having trouble lining things up like I was, and you still end up with like kind of the black bars that you're used to seeing on comic books. Now, that's if you want to start from fresh. And I know I have some artistic students out there who will love that. I have a lot of fun with this. But some people are like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I don't want to do that. You can also look for some pre-made projects that can be adapted to your own purpose. So when you're doing that, you check out the projects page over on the left-hand side once you have your initial document or presentation set up. So see how over here are all of those things. Now, if I do it in presentation, it won't work, but I would click projects and it will come up. And I think I got it over here to show you. Okay. So here is, hang on, here's the example. Okay. This is a sample one that was already made up, and I played around with the colors. I changed their words. I added little elements like a little window and a floor. I could add different objects if I wanted to. I could change this font. If I don't like this font, I could grab it, and it's not letting me do it right now because I'm using it, so it won't let me change it while I'm using it. But that is one thing I could do. Now, if I go on, well, okay, so it had several different possibilities. So see, I changed the background color here. I changed her dress color. Here I flipped her. There's a little button usually up on the toolbar that'll let you flip it a different way. So if I wanted her to turn around and talk to somebody else, that works. And then for this one, instead of just having kind of a blank square, I wanted to add different sceneries. So here they're sitting out in the woods. Here they're walking through a school. Here they're hanging out at a house. Here they're in a classroom. Here they are outside in the fall. Now, you can see how it comes up on top of everything. What you have to do, I'm sure if it'll, see, I thought my toolbar would still work, but because I'm taping it, it's not letting me. Usually there's a toolbar up here and it will say the word position, and I would grab this, click on it, hit position, and go to the back. Now, what happens is it'll send it all the way to the back, which means it'll be behind this colored square. That's fine. I just grab the colored square, click on it, get rid of it, and then you end up with this like I've got. So if you're wanting to kind of be a little more fancy like this, it looks quite nice. They've got a few examples in there. And then, not all of them have this, but some of them have this little resource page where they've already grabbed the people that they've used so that they're there for you and you can use them again. The one I like about this particular one is, see how it's got different facial expressions? Because these guys actually, you can see here, they all have blank faces. They don't have any expression. So I could make them look startled or happy or sad or kind of angry. That is really cool too. And then I could grab completely different people if I wanted to. Yep. This is the blank face people where I can do facial expressions. Here they have the whole face all at once, but here what I've actually done is I've looked up in some of them. I grabbed the eyes, or I grabbed a nose, or I grabbed the mouth, and I kind of put them all together. Now that is fussy. I don't know if you want to do that for everyone, but if you were doing like an extreme close-up of somebody looking a certain emotion that was really important to you, then you might want to do that. And then here's kind of my original. Okay. Hang on. Okay, so when you click on the design button up here, see that? Different search terms bring up slightly different criteria. And again, depending on what type of project you told Canva you wanted to do, different types of possibilities pop up. So right now I'm in the presentations category, which is only going to bring up samples that have the exact same proportions as a smartboard, which is not the size of most comic books. Let me show here. If I put comic strip here, what comes up, the front will look like a comic strip, but a lot of it inside may not. Now some of it, you kind of have to play around and look to see. Yeah, see how they just kind of made it look comic book style. So that's why you don't want to be in presentations, because it doesn't quite work. Okay. So you have better look if you say comic strip rather than comic book, but you also have better luck if, and then I'm going to play around and show you. If you go here and go to create a design, and if I hit comic strip, okay, so it's already got this set up. Now again, I don't quite like this size, but that seems to be the size that they use the most common. Okay, and now I can go over here, hit design, and tell it comic strip, and a whole bunch of options will come up. Some of them, if you click on it, it's just one page. So this is just one page, that's all it is. But others, when you click on them, it will have several different options. Let me kind of see if I can grab one. That's pretty typical. Okay, so here, hang on. Sorry, this is in French, but they've set it up and then they've given you a blank one in case you want it. They've given you the resource page if you want it. They've given you some of the people or sort of the objects that you use if you want it. That can be really handy. I would take the time to play around and look at that before I moved on, okay? And then here, yeah. So I grabbed some samples. I'm going to kind of show you. So I know this is all filled in, but all you have to do is select that and you would take out these words and you can easily change the background. All they've done is put a house behind a colored square, right? And then over here, we've got one where they've kind of just, I don't know about this one. They've got kind of the words. I don't know if I would want to use that, but it kind of shows you. But the cool thing is it has the resource page. So here's a bunch of speech bubbles already picked out for you. Here's a bunch of blank panels you could use already picked out. And there's all sorts of different drawing styles. Like this one is kind of a black and white version. This one definitely had a resource page. I like this one quite a bit. And then here you can see different. And again, if you clicked on this one in your design page, it clicks up with some of the resources. Then you've got more of the comic book style if you do wanted it more like that. Then this is kind of a very soft, dreamy one, right? This one's a little bit manga-ish, which is kind of good. And then, hang on. This is cool. Hang on, let me see. See how this one, they used photos. Now, the one thing for this is you'd kind of want to go through and see if you had photos that worked for you. But say if you were making a comic strip that was, say, about your reserve and you've got a bunch of photos, awesome. If you want to put yourself as the main character and you've got a bunch of photos of yourself, that would be easy to do too. So you don't have to, and there are photos available for this, but that's kind of a different look. Then we've got this. This is one, again, I could go through and change every single one of these elements. It just kind of shows you some ideas. Here's another one that's more of the comic book style. This one is almost more like a cartoon than a comic book in a sense, but again, a nice style. Here's another one that they did with the photos. Hang on. Here's a black and white one, but done in that comic book style. I love this. I think that looks great. And then here's, again, the kind of comic book style. Here's some different layouts. I give you one in the book, but you're welcome to use different layouts. That's fine. Here's one more. This is kind of an ancient, I think it's a Japanese style, which I think is beautiful. Hang on. And here's another one. I kind of like this one too because I liked the colors. And this is another one that had a resource page where there's people, there's some objects, there's some nature. And kind of here's an example one that you can kind of use to kind of give yourself some ideas. So you can also look up different elements like speech bubbles up top, different movement kind of lines, fancy text styles, specific kind of comic book elements like that. All those will be found in the elements. And then you can look up different styles of people. Like everybody likes a different visual style. So here's that kind of old-fashioned comic book style. Here's what they call this illustrative style. These are the ones that you can change, like the color of her pants and the color of her shirt. These ones are what they call editable. So I can't change everything about this guy, but there is an edit button where I can kind of change the tint a little bit. And I could use photos if I've got photos that work. Let me see if I can get into, will this work? Hang on. Okay, let me do it real quick. I'm going to just kind of show you what I mean about the editable thing. Okay, people. I think I've shown this before, but just to make sure, because I know not everybody's watching every single one. Okay. Sorry, they usually have a certain look to them. Is that one? Okay, yeah. So see this guy? I want him in here for whatever reason. Now, it says edit. If I hit the edit button, sorry, hit the edit button. Okay. Now, the filters will give me, they'll slightly change his color, right? This gives it a bit of a green look. This turns it a little bit yellowy. Here's kind of more blues. Here's more of a purpley color. Then usually at the bottom, okay, so they're black and white. And then there's some like funky, vintagey color pop styles that you could do if you want to look more comic booky, right? And I can play with the intensity. If I go down to 0, it just goes to the regular, okay? The other thing with this that's kind of neat, if I go to edit, there are some little things you can play with, like this will create shadows. But I think yeah, that gives a shadow all around him. If I want a back shadow, look at that. Look how cool that is. All of a sudden, that looks kind of 3D because I gave him a shadow. And then I can hit edit again. What else can I do? Duotone, I think that means you can turn it into just 2. The blur is kind of nice if you have something where, like maybe you wanted him to be far in the background and I wanted to blur him. I can blur the whole image and I could make him quite blurry. Or if I had somebody who like took off their glasses or they'd just fallen, and so I'm trying to show that with my technique. So the edit button will do some things, but it won't change all the individual colors the way we sometimes kind of want it to do. Okay, let me see if I can get back to... Okay, hang on a second. Sorry. All right. Okay, so we are in here, class 12. And then if I click on here, I just have my class 12. Okay. And if you're looking along, I don't know if you can see this, but you can just kind of grab this bar and it'll zip you along the way you want to go. The other thing is if I wanted to see everything at once, see how there's like a little set of 4 squares? If I click on this button, I can see everything at once. And now the nice thing about this is I can move things easily as well. So if you're doing something and you suddenly realize, oh wait, I want it actually to start that way. Oh, okay, no problem. I can move it over here and stick it at the beginning. That can be really nice. It's also nice to kind of go over and go, oh, hey, I've got a lot of light colored slides up in the front and everything's kind of dark at the back. I don't know if I want that. And you can kind of play around really easily with your work. So we were here. Okay. So when you are finished all that, okay, hang on, this is really important too. When you're finished all this, you need to hand it in. So to hand it in, hit the share button and then go to download. Now, I know it always says ping. I don't know why, because I can't stand it myself. PDF standard is probably the easiest way. And then as long as you want all the pages, just select all the pages, hit download. It'll take a minute or two. Okay. Make sure you've titled it up here. And then I would go up here. Yep. It'll go into my computer. I can save it in whatever file I want and then send me an email and send it in the file. Okay, so do make sure you send it to me. I would make sure you had your name up here like Jill's NBE3C comic book project so that it's really obvious and I can find it really easy. Okay. So I keep going back and forth here. All right. Okay, so we're moving on to question 19, just kind of some preview information. For question 19, we're kind of reflecting on how the different literacy skills work together. And some students find this type of reflective writing really hard. Basically, reflective writing is when you kind of step back. Oh, sorry, I didn't know it was going to push me back there. I thought it would keep me on the same page. There we go. Step back and you view your actions and your own thinking, and you discuss them in the same way that you might if you observed someone else doing something. And that is the part that can be hard for some students. Some students think very quickly, so it's really hard for them to kind of catch what they're doing. Some students think in images rather than in words, which can be kind of tricky for them to describe. And other times, students lack words to describe the different type of thinking processes. So that one I think is pretty common. So I'm going to kind of discuss some of the words we can use to describe how we think, because that can be kind of tricky. All right? So, if I'm planning something, I could talk about it as brainstorming, scheduling, imagining, arranging, setting up, working out, figuring out. Now, those words are not all exactly the same, right? If I am brainstorming my ideas for a short story, that's a little bit different than if I was scheduling the different tasks for a big project. But they're still in that planning frame, okay? Questioning. There are all sorts of words for questioning, and again, they don't all mean exactly the same thing. Wondering, asking, pondering, puzzling out, researching, inquiring, interrogating, quizzing. Now, if I'm just kind of sitting at home, I might be wondering about something. That's a lot different than interrogating a suspect in a police station. But they're both in the genre of asking questions. Designing. Things like sketching, doodling, drawing, arranging, composing, drafting, visualizing, imagining, dreaming, and creating. Rethinking. Things like reviewing or revising, redrafting, starting over, editing, doing over, stepping back, reflecting, puzzling over or thinking about, and then making connections. You might be comparing things or contrasting things. You might be giving examples or drawing a parallel. You might be associating two things or noticing differences or similarities. You might also be trying to say that you understand something, you comprehend it, you grasp it, you perceive it, you know it, you recognize it, you appreciate it. Study. Depending on what you're studying, maybe you're memorizing something, maybe you're taking notes, maybe you're summarizing it or condensing it. Maybe you're practicing it. Like if I'm studying math, I'm not memorizing it, I'm practicing math problems. Maybe you're examining it closely, like if you're studying something in a lab. Use is such a general word. It could mean anything. Maybe you're applying something you know. Maybe you're handling a tool. Maybe you're operating a machine. Maybe you're managing people. Maybe you're adopting a new system. Maybe you're choosing something. Explain. Explain is one of those general words that sometimes students aren't sure what it means. It can mean different things. Maybe it means expand on what you mean, or give me some details, or give me some examples, or just make something more clear, or give your reasons. Deciding can be things like choose, pick, select, arrange, take, conclude, or settle the matter. And marking can be things like grading, assessing, evaluating, reviewing, stating your opinion, naming a value, or rating. And I want to point out, sometimes people think of that as kind of only a school thing, but no, people review books or games. People state their opinion on a new law. People will rate their professors. A doctor might evaluate you to see if you're sick. The city might be assessing your home to see how much it's worth. But they're all the idea of kind of like weighing it in some sense and seeing what it's worth in some capacity, right? And sometimes we do that with our own ideas. Hey, is that a good idea? Is that not a good idea? Hey, I looked this over and I'm not so sure about this. I want to fix this. That kind of idea. Now, there are 6 main overall, not I would say literacy skills, but maybe literacy categories. I'm being fussy there. Okay, so these skills help you understand. These skills are all really connected to each other, okay? There is this side. This side is all about understanding things, okay? Understanding other people's ideas, their opinions, their facts, their concepts, their stories. So here I'm reading. If I'm reading a text of some sort, okay? But I'm understanding something. I could be listening. We often call it, listening an oral text. An oral text could be a speech. It could be a song. It could be just a group partner talking. Viewing media could be anything. Could be watching a video, could be looking at a poster, could be examining an infographic. All these cases, we're trying to understand something. And then on the other side of the table is where we're trying to express our ideas, right? We're trying to tell others what we think or what we feel or what we know. So then we've got writing, talking, and creating media. The other thing is that these skills are thought of as being in what we sometimes call as like reciprocal pairs. Like reading text is the opposite of writing a text. Listening to someone is the opposite of talking to somebody. Viewing media is the opposite of creating media. But because I might know a lot about viewing media, the skills I have about what I know can help me create media. The skills I have in listening to someone talk can help me doing my own talking. The skills I have in reading can help me with writing, and vice versa. Now, sometimes people don't think of it that way. They think of like, here's my writing skills and it has no relationship to anything else I'm doing. Or here are my talking skills and it's not related to anything else. But these skills are all very similar and have a lot of connections to each other. Generally, these are connected either sideways, like to their reciprocal skill, or they're connected down one column. They're all understanding or they're all expressing. Okay? So here's an example of what I mean. Let's say I've gotten very skilled at giving examples to explain my ideas in writing. Well, I can apply that knowledge to help me give examples while I'm speaking as well. It also means I may understand what I read more effectively because I begin to recognize when I'm reading, oh, the author isn't giving me a whole new idea. They're simply giving me an example, some more information on that first idea. So the skill I learned in one literacy category helps me in some of the other categories. Another example would be maybe I've been learning about the difference in text features and how you differently read fictional stories and news reports. Now, when I write, I can use those differences to make sure my writing is in the correct format and gets my ideas across to my reader. It may also help me to create my own media differently. If I want to make sure that my viewers understand whether something is intended to be a video for entertainment versus a news report for information. There is a classic story one time of the War of the Worlds where a very famous author called H.G. Wells created a fictional story, but he wrote it as if it were like a news broadcast stating that aliens had arrived on Earth. And even though it was being posted at a time when the radio consistently posted fictional stories, people hearing it got confused, got mixed up, and actually thought that it really was the news and aliens had really landed. And it caused panic all over because people weren't understanding some of the differences. So it is, an important skill to know. Okay. Now, before you do key question number 19, I want you to stop. If you have not finished key question 18, there's no way to do this question because this entire question is asking you to think back on what you learned doing key question number 18 and talking about it. So if you haven't done it, don't skip it, go back, do it, and then do this, okay? First question, how did your experience and skills in reading short stories and other texts help you write the short story for key question 18? Please give 2 to 3 specific examples for 3 marks. So in this case, you're being asked to look at reciprocal skills. I think that's spelled wrong. How did your reading help your writing? Remember, those both deal with written words. Number 2, how did your experience with viewing comic books or strips or graphic novels or other types of media help you in creating the graphic short story in key question number 18? Please give 2 to 3 specific examples. And again, here's another time where I'm dealing with reciprocal skills. How did viewing media help you create media? Number 3, in what ways did your experiences with speaking and listening help you to create realistic dialogue for the graphic short story? Please give 2 to 3 specific examples. So here I'm actually looking at 3 different skills. Writing, I'm writing dialogue, and then to do writing dialogue well, I'm using what I know about speaking and about listening to create realistic dialogue. What do I know about speaking? What do I know about listening that I'm using to help me write good dialogue? Or used, I guess, because it should be done by this point. Number 4, which story, poem, article, or media text from this unit did you like the best? Discuss 2 to 3 things you liked most about it. Was there anything about your favorite text that you could try to incorporate into your writing or media creation? So please note, you cannot use your own assignments. I'm talking about other people's stories or poems or articles. Please don't use your own assignments for this. So this question is actually asking you to tell me 3 things. First, think about what text you read, listened to, or viewed, and decide in this unit which one was your favorite. So you wouldn't say Big Bang Theory because we didn't study the Big Bang Theory in this unit, okay? It's got to be what we studied in this unit. Number 2, you are deciding what you liked about it. Think especially about stuff that you can use in your own work. The tone of it, the content, the examples, the vocabulary, the visuals, the theme, the way it made you feel, the character, the plot, the main idea, etc. And then finally, what are some of those that you could use for any upcoming assignments? What are the things that you like? Hey, I like that, so I want to make sure I use that, right? You know, sometimes when you're learning a new sport, you watch somebody do a cool move and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to practice that cool move because I absolutely want to be able to do that. That's what we're doing here, right? We're looking at professional authors and going, hey, they're doing some cool things. I want to copy that and use that and make myself a better writer, right? In sometimes in real world, we're like, I don't want to copy people. But for writing, especially as a student, learning how to adapt what somebody else does to your own writing is a super useful skill. I don't mean copy what they did word for word. I mean go, oh, they used a lot of sound effects. I'm going to do that. That kind of idea, right? Okay, so here's an example of what an answer might look like for that. I really enjoyed the graphic journal called I Am My Grandmother. I liked the content of it, examining your grandmother and seeing how she influenced your life. I also liked the combination of visuals and text because I felt like I understood the character better with both of those elements. I also liked the font and the scrapbook style of the pages. I do a lot of journaling and I loved how the photos were faded, repeated, or grouped in different ways to help get across her message and her feelings about her grandmother. I feel like this created an overall media text with lots of layers of meaning, and I want to try to do this in the next media text I create. So that's an example. So it's not a simple one for one. It's kind of do it as a paragraph and join things up. Okay, now there is, and I closed it because it kind of was interfering at the beginning. There's a link. Let's see if it comes up. Yes, on YouTube.
There's something
Okay.
special about comic strips.
I'm not going to watch the
no
whole
matter
thing
what age.
because YouTube is very fussy about these. But if you say how to create comic strips, Canva, this is like their own content creator. So she's showing you how to use their own program, and she works there, so she will know. It's about 8 minutes long. It's a pretty good one. There are a few other ones, but because she's going to show you the different elements, it's a really good one to use. Now, hang on. I'm just going to kind of go back here. Let me see if I had, okay, this. Okay. Oh, I like this one. Okay, so I'm just going to point out every single thing in here can be changed. Now, maybe I love it. Maybe I don't want it changed that much, especially maybe the people kind of work for me. Okay, well, then I can just change the words. Maybe I don't like the font of the words. Okay, I can go up here, click on that, and pick different words. Now, remember how we talked about, let me see. Let me try Garrett. Yeah, I like that. Now, if I hit, here how it says Allegra to Garrett, if I hit change all, in my version, it's all going to change to Allegra. Now, I like that, but you can see Allegra was a little bit bigger. So it also might need to get shrunk down now so it fits in the spot. Like here, the E landed on the other line. Same thing here. So when I do that, I might need to play with it. It's still worth doing, but I'm just pointing that out. Now, sometimes they're not coming up. Every now and again, you'll see like a little crown. The crown means they want you to pay for it. Don't do that. Obviously, you don't need to do that. So I grab this. I can change the color to a different color. Let me think. What could I do? Ooh, this is cool. Because they already have some photos, I could grab colors that are already in the photos so it kind of matches. I don't have to. I can go up to the rainbow section and create any color I wanted, right? But it's kind of neat to be able to grab the exact same color so it looks coordinated. Okay. The other thing is I could make, oh, this one is all 3 people at once. I could make somebody a little bit bigger if I wanted to. Now this is, I can't change her colors individually. I can tint her a little bit, right? Okay, so this works really well because you can see with the white. I could change her shirt by doing it this way, but everything got a little bit yellow. Here, everything got a little bit more pink. See here, now she looks blue. Now that would work if I was trying to show nighttime though, right? And then if I wanted to get really kind of funky down at the bottom, I've got all these neat ones that can make it look very comic booky. Okay. Now let's say I hate her there. I don't want her there. Yuck. She's horrible. Okay, just grab it, stick it in the garbage. No problem. And then I can go over here and grab a different person. Okay, so people. Now, maybe I want a girl. Now, one thing I found, this is disappointing, but if I put, hang on a second, if I put Indigenous people in, and I don't like this, but I want to show it to you so you understand that this does happen, it tends to put some stereotypical images up, older things. That can be useful if you're wanting some stuff, but if you're wanting modern people, it is a little bit trickier. Let's see, hang on. I'm going to put that in the garbage. You see what I mean? And it's Indigenous can be all over the world, so you could get Indigenous African, Indigenous Australian, Indigenous South American, and other things like just kind of random designs come up as well. You can kind of see that. So I didn't find that that worked great. I was very frustrated by that. And I didn't find, it is an American program, even though it says CA. If I put First Nations, it doesn't really bring anything up. Doesn't really work. Maybe kind of this little guy. Aboriginal has kind of the same sort of problem. Well, that's a little bit better. Okay. This looks very Australian though to me, but it's a little bit better. The other thing you can do is you could go over to photos. Now, again, you're kind of stuck with whatever they happen to have and whether it works for you. But you could also upload your own photos. That's the other thing that you can do as well. Okay. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So maybe I like him. He's great. Now, what if I wanted another page exactly like this? Hang on. Usually there's a, where is it? That just adds me any page. But if I want this page exactly, there should be a way to, okay, yeah. See how the purple line goes around the whole thing? Now, if I click on that, I can duplicate the entire page. Or maybe I want to duplicate the blank page. Great. And now I've got that. I can move it over and I can put all my own people here. Okay. So I know if you've never used Canva at all, I did try to encourage you to use it for one of the other assignments. This could be a little bit intimidating. And if it's too intimidating, you know what? We are going to be using Canva a lot. So just go ahead, skip this, skip 18, skip 19, go on to some of the other assignments, and you can always come back to it. Okay. But I do want you to know how to use this because this is getting used in businesses more and more. And I really do think it's an important skill to have. Okay. I think also it's really cool to see what you can do and how professional it looks. All right. That is it for today. Tomorrow we will start Unit 2. All right. Give me a phone call if you need any help with anything.